Yes guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So yesterday I ended up having a spike meal as part of my prep diet, and I realized that actually probably not many people maybe are familiar with the term spike meal or what that means and why that's in there. So what I'm going to run through is the different terminologies and what my understanding and my opinion is with each one of these sections. So you've got a cheat day or a cheat meal, cheat day, a spike meal, a high day, an off-plan meal. You've got all these different things that I'm going to run through, and I may miss some out, but I'm going to give it my best go. So the first one is a cheat meal or a cheat day. Now, I will never, ever give a cheat meal or a cheat day. Now, the reason for this is it's completely the terminology. You are cheating on your diet. If you are cheating on your diet, you are doing something that is not in your diet plan. So a good example is if I was to give you an off-plan meal once a week, that is not cheating on your diet. That is me saying, go have something that you want once a week. If you are cheating or having a cheat day or a cheat meal, then you are not complying with that coaching instruction. You are going off your diet. You are cheating on your diet. Similarly, like in a relationship, you are cheating on that. You are doing something unfaithful to that diet. So that's not me saying that I'll never give anyone a burger and fries or whatever it might be, or a pizza in a plan. I just wouldn't use the terminology of cheating on it because it gives it that negative connotation. Now, if you decided to have a burger and fries when it's not on your plan, that would be a cheat meal. You have cheated on your diet. So that's something that I want to clean up. Because one of the first things that I get questions on whenever I have a new client sign up. So when do I get a cheat meal? When do I get a cheat day? And you're like, never. They don't exist. You know, if you don't want to do the diet, don't do the diet. But that kind of leads me on then to the off-plan meal. So to me, an off-plan meal is something that you give someone in the off season, or maybe at the very early stages of your coaching client relationship or the early stage of a prep, probably not a prep, more maybe a diet, for that mental break. So what I mean by that is it could be anything from a burger and fries, a pizza, or it could literally be you've got your chicken and rice, you just don't want to weigh it out. And it's that freshening up, that home cooked meal that I'm not bodybuilding or dieting right now for this 1 hour, this one meal. I am off. You know, it's like having almost like annual leave, almost like booking annual leave or holiday from work. That meal is not counted. We're just chilling, you know. And you might enjoy your meal plan so much that you go, actually, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to have an off-plan meal, which I can completely encourage, because the more on plan we can stay, the better the results are going to be. And I believe the easier it is for you to stay on a meal plan if the longer you comply with it. So for me, in the off season, typically I have an off-plan meal once a week. First of all, that can get expensive if you start going down the burger and fries route. You're then cranking in maybe another 1,000 to 2,000 calories in that one day that then isn't accounted for. Whereas we could maybe split that. You know, if you're struggling to gain weight, you could maybe split that across the week. So that 2,000 calories could be added in clean food sources and proteins and good fats across the week to then counterbalance that. Don't get me wrong, I still think the break is important if it's needed, but only if it's needed. I would much prefer have someone be on plan that whole time to, really kind of get the nutrients in and recover well and aid performance. But then there is also life, birthdays and Christmas and date nights and things like that. And I do say to my clients that actually an off-plan meal isn't an eating challenge. And I specify that very, very, with a lot of intent, because it seems to be a very popular thing that as soon as you have an off-plan meal, it's got to be 40 pancakes and an eating challenge. But that's not what it's about. We're not in this to have an eating disorder. We're in this to create the best physique that we possibly can and live a healthy lifestyle. And it's something that I've battled with quite a lot is, I have a very, very large appetite. I can't say that I've ever struggled to get food down, which, blessing and a curse, but that means that I'm always hungry in the off season. Whether I'm digesting the food properly or not, I don't know. That's to be seen. But it does. I do think that sort of cheat day mentality of, well, I've got my off plan, so I better have 2 pizzas and a tub of ice cream, and you're like, you wouldn't do that. I mean, well, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think many people would do that on a weekly basis normally. And now you're having this really strict healthy diet, but then having this massive extreme. And then when you start adding in things like performance enhancing drugs into the scenario and carrying around excess body weight all the time, you're just wrecking your blood pressure and things like that. So I do make sure, obviously now and again, it's got to be done. I do think that, having that freedom to go, do you know what, I really just fancy a pizza, I'm going to smash it. And, you're off season, you got legs tomorrow, sure, fine. I'm never going to have a go at you about that, but I do think it's important to keep that in the back of your mind, that actually if you do fancy something and, your mum makes a cracking lasagna, that's a great off-plan meal, as long as you're not like me and lactose intolerant. But, that's just a good example, is an off-plan meal is something that is off your plan of food, but still prescribed by a coach. Now, on to the next topic of a spike meal. Now, a spike meal is typically given when you are in probably the last third of a prep, maybe even later than that, where your body is very, very receptive to food. You've been on low food for a while, maybe even high output. Your carbs are fairly low, and your body just needs a bit of a freshen up. It's crying out for food for so long that actually, because it's been crying out for food for so long, your weight is maintained, or maybe you're getting better, but performance is lacking in the gym. There's a number of different reasons why you can put it in. Now, I personally like to go for a high day, which a high day is where you would then increase the baseline food of your plan throughout the day. So say if you were eating 50 grams of rice per meal, you might bump that up to either 75 or 100 grams. Maybe add in, instead of going carbless for meal 1, you'd then maybe add in some sourdough bread or some oats. You might double your cream of rice amount before your training session, or even your intra-carb or something like that, just to give yourself that day. Now, but sometimes that just doesn't stick. So, or in my case yesterday, I needed that time for me and my girlfriend to go out and actually have a date night, because we've not had one in prep yet. And that value there has taken stress off of our relationship. Not that there was stress there in the first place, but there was a potential that actually we've not really had a date night for a while, and it's important to maintain that relationship when you're in prep to then keep the prep moving smoother. So you're looking at the big picture here. So that could also be a reason why you'd have a spike meal. So maybe it's not sticking, maybe a high day is not enough, maybe you're having to do back-to-back high days where actually one spike meal might be enough. So like last night, when we had the spike meal, Nath turned around and said to me, right, he said, on the Friday, I think it was, he's like, right, I want you to have 25 sushi rolls. I want you to have, I can't remember the exact amount, X this. I want you to have 5 tuna nigiri, 5 salmon nigiri, some uramaki, some maki, whatever it was. And then we checked in again on Saturday, said actually bumped that up to 30, we need a little bit more. And that was fine. And that's what I ordered. I didn't have anything more than that. I had Coke Zero with it, and I ended up having a fancy tea. But again, it's tea, it's 3 calories. So, even though there's a great big plate of food, which I'll put up on the screen just now, it's not untracked. It's completely prescribed, and it is there for a purpose. So that's kind of the 4 main ones. Now, when you're carb loading, it's essentially the same thing, just over a longer process. So this would be typically before you're either getting on stage or that show, that date in mind. So the week before, say, your wedding, you then go, right, we've been on low food, let's add some shape, let's take off the fatigue from your body. So you would then start loading gently. So say if your baseline diet is 100 grams of carbs, you would maybe bump it up to 200 grams of carbs. See what the look looks like and go, okay, actually that's not enough. Maybe we'll go 250, 300 tomorrow. Okay, right, okay, we could do a little bit more. Oh, no, actually that's perfect. We'll leave it there. Leave it there for another day. Oh, no, actually, maybe we need a bit more. Or too much, too less. And just kind of go from there. At the same time, you'd be pulling out cardio and things like that to try and freshen up the body. That's kind of a really different topic, but it's there as well. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else. I don't think there is. Yeah, so that's basically it when it comes to the different types of planned meals, where they're like high meals and high carb off plans and strategies that you can use. So I hope that helped. I hope that made sense. Let me know if you've got any comments or queries, or just something that you'd like me to go into a little bit more. Absolutely, in the comment section below. Add a like, subscribe if you would like to, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.